What's going on, everybody? We back at it again. Hope everybody's been doing okay. It's a little rainy out here today, but it's all good. I guess when you live in semi-drought country like this area gets sometimes, a little rain ain't hurt nobody. But let's get into today's topic. I actually came across a few articles over the last couple months. So this is kind of a subject I've been wanting to broach for a little while. But, obviously the world's been going through a pandemic, whether, your beliefs are of that quality or not, or if you think this is a hoax, whatever the case is. The reality is that we've been living through it and living with it. And especially when it comes to living, a lot of people, married people, newbie relationships, long-term relationships that are just like cohabitating with each other. It's been taking a toll as far as, a lot of areas in the world have been having to do like quarantine. Some of it's like government, mandated. Some of it comes from counties or, state, whatever. But the reality is that a lot of areas have been having to go through it. And one of the articles, or some of the articles actually, that I've came across dealt with the subject of relationships and how some relationships have suffered actually because of, lockdowns and quarantines and whatnot. And some of the people that were interviewed, and I'll give you the links to some of the articles I've read. It's actually, when I think about it, as I was reading these articles, it's like, wow, people that are like in relationships, like the relationships, marriages, whatever, they're suffering because they have to spend more time with their significant other, their spouse, what have you. I'm just gonna, sit here and tell you guys, that makes no sense to me. That's just opinion. And my opinions are my own, just like my Twitter handle says, my opinions are always my own. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, how can, okay, you're in lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to call it, with your significant other. So yeah, you're having to spend every single day, with this person. And, a lot of these articles that I was reading says that relationships are suffering because of it, because of too much interpersonal exposure to your significant other. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, wow, like, are you, like, to me, like, are you kidding me? Like, it's so negative to have to spend that much time with your spouse, significant other, whatever you want to call it. I personally, I don't get it. Now, fair disclaimer, I'm not in that situation. I'm not, married. I'm not in a relationship. I'm not cohabitating with anybody. So I'm not really under, the guise of having to deal with, the situation. But I, also fair disclaimer, yeah, I have cohabitated in the past with significant others. And yeah, you have your problems in relationships. Don't get me wrong. I mean, let's just get that out of the way. Every relationship has, its own issues. I'd be completely idiotic to say otherwise. But I just don't get how relationships suffer because you have to spend that much more time together. Now, I'm just under the impression that, when you're in a relationship, that, you want to spend as much time as you can with your significant other, spouse, what have you. A lot of relationships don't always get that chance because people are working too much. I'll give you a link to a video I've made on that topic before. Some people don't live close enough together, even outside of a pandemic, to be able to spend that much time together. I've done, long distance relationships before. It's worked to a degree, and I'm not going to sit here and knock the concept of it. but at the same time, and during that process, you're always like missing, the other person, and you're always talking about like, oh, I can't wait to see you again, and I wish we didn't live so far apart. And and then when you do get together, it's like, oh my God, this is great. I love you. I love being around you. And I wish I never had to leave your side. I wish I didn't have to go to work so much, because I just want to be around you. I want to be laid up in your arms, and I just want to go everywhere and do everything with you. And then you're put in a situation where now you're having to spend that extra time with somebody else, and it's a problem. Doesn't make sense to me. I can't figure it out. I'll tell you this. If I was like, let's say I was in a relationship and I was in this situation where, I have to stay home all the time, quarantine, can't leave the house, whatever, and I got a spouse in the house or a significant other that I'm cohabitating with. I'm like, I wouldn't want to be out of work or anything. I've been having to work throughout this whole pandemic. I've been working like 6 days a week for the last like 10 months almost. So, that kind of doesn't apply to me. But I can sit here and say, like, I'm the kind of person, just me. Maybe not everybody has the same mentality as me, and that's okay. But just me, if I'm in a relationship, when I have been in relationships, I'm trying to spend all my free time with the person I'm with. Like I said, I'll link to a video that, really discusses that topic in detail. But to read these articles about how, being under quarantine has had a negative effect on a handful of relationships, directly had a negative impact on a handful of relationships. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, all because you have to spend more time with your significant other, that's damaging. Now, are there like some psychological, reasons for that? Like, because you have to spend time with your significant other, is that why, they're not really working out as well as they should? I don't know. I can't figure it out. Like to me, it just seems like if I had to spend time with the person I'm with, it's great, like let's I guess there was a term that was called like a turbo relationship, where like the more condensed time you spend with somebody, it actually feels like you've been with that person longer. Like if you have to spend like a month straight with somebody, it actually feels like you've been with that person for like a year. Maybe I'm off on the description of that term, but it was one of the things that I saw in one of those articles. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, if you're in a relationship, like my way of being in relationships is that I'm trying to make this work, long term. I'm not in this, just to have fun. Yeah, I want to have fun, but not like fleeting, fun. I'm trying to make this like long term last. That's just my mentality. I'm not the kind of dude that has been in a lot of relationships, because if it doesn't work out, I take time away to try to figure myself out, whatever have you. But when I'm in a relationship, I'm in that thing like for the long term, because I want to make it work. That's, to me, that's the whole point. I'm not trying to waste my time. I'm not trying to waste the other person's time. But so you want to do everything you can to, keep knowing this person, keep developing, your bond with this person. And then you have to sit there and go through the whole, well, we're spending all this time together and now things aren't working out. I think, part of it is, the more time you spend around somebody, the more you really see how they are. But don't you do that in relationships anyway? When you spend time with somebody, you start seeing like, little quirks about them that, some of you're not going to like every single thing about somebody. Maybe you do, but for the most part, it doesn't always work out that way. And that's okay. Everybody's supposed to have little differences, but It's the differences about us, I think, that really makes relationships work a lot of times. Otherwise, you're just dating yourself. Now, you can have a lot of similarities and a lot of common bonds, and that's great because, you want to have that thing that, magnetizes, you two together. But, and to keep that bond, that magnetized bond with each other. But, little differences are what makes relationships great. He does this and she does that, and she does her this and he does his that, and that's great. And then at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, you guys come together and form a good union. And that's great. That's what relationships are about. But when you have to spend all this time together, all the time that you really beg sometimes to and wish to spend with your partner, it's like, oh, well, I don't know, this ain't where I'm spending too much time with this person. I'm sorry. I consider myself an intellectual person, but I cannot grasp the concept of spending too much time with somebody. It just doesn't compute to me. And the whole, some relationships get into that, oh, we need a break from each other mentality. I'm just thinking to myself, like, if we need a break from each other, we just need to break up. Why do I need a break from somebody that I want to be with? That just does not make any sense to me, people. I'm sorry. Like, no, I'm not sorry. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, I mean, I'm hoping anybody that watches this, if you're in a relationship throughout this whole pandemic, if you've had to go through this whole quarantine with your significant other, and you're in an area that broke free from having to be quarantined, and you're doing great, everything's working out. I hope nobody's had any adverse effects from this as far as relationship terms. It's not good, and my heart goes out to anybody that's had to go through that. I'm deeply empathetic for that, but at the same time, I would like to know, like what is it? Is it because you're forced to spend extra time with somebody, or is it kind of a combination of, well, just over time, you're spending that much time with somebody that you just start seeing more of them that you don't like, that you probably wouldn't have noticed when you're spreading out your time from day to day. Is that it? Like I said, I don't know. I don't really, like I said, it doesn't factor into my brain that spending too much time with your partner is a bad thing. So let me know. There's always the great concept of smashing that like button. There's a subscribe button down there. There's a comment box down there. All for you liking, all for the taking. It's out there. But let's discuss this. Discuss it amongst your friends. Do you know anybody that's had to go through this outside of your situations? You don't have to divulge any of this information, but and I hope nobody's had to go through this. But at the same time, I just don't want to see anybody have to live with the mentality of I couldn't deal with this person because I was spending too much time with them. Now maybe because I don't know, maybe it's because I am not in a relationship that it's easy for me to say well, I just can't understand spending too much time with somebody. No, because when I've been in relationships, all I've ever wanted to do was spend as much time as I could with them. That's just how I am. That's how I was built. But obviously things, you have to go to work, you got to go to do your night school, or you got to take care of errands, business, what have you. Obviously there's a little bit of time that naturally comes about where you're away from your partner from an extended period of time, or the long distance relationships where maybe you don't see each other for a week or a month, what have you, but you keep that line of communication open. Well, now when you're cohabitating with somebody and you're under a quarantine, well, now this is a communication that you got to keep up. You got to speak to this person every day. I mean, you guys are under the same roof, in between the same walls. So if they say communication is key, well, here's your communication time that you have to deal with. So I don't want to say have to deal with like in a negative way. I'm not saying it like that, but keep open lines of communication. Well, now you see this person every day, talk to them. I think it's a good chance to find out every single thing you can about this person. And shouldn't that make the relationship better? I don't know. That's just my thought process about it. But like I said, let me know. Like, share, subscribe. It's all out there for the taking. But as I depart, let me just say that I love you guys. Anybody who's watching this, I think everybody's great. I think the world is starting to turn a little bit of a tide going forward, but let's just keep it that way. Let's keep progressing towards something great and greater, and I'm gonna see you guys on the other side. Take care.